9/11. Now what do these dates mean to you? Well, to millions of Americans and people around the world, 9/11 brings back the horrific memories of the terrorist attack on the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. Today I'm going to explain to you why we should continue the war on terror and how by continuing the war on terror we can better protect foreign and domestic soil, which is the result of protecting American and worldwide lives. James J. from WorldTradeCenter.com says that the catastrophe at the World Trade Center claimed nearly 3,000 lives. By continuing the war on terror, we can prevent this from ever happening again. Today I'm going to talk about the need to continue the war on terror, how we can fit this need, and how it will affect our nation as well as nations around the world. Now let's look at the first problem, which is the cause of terrorism. What terrorism causes. According to James J. from CRT.com, terrorism causes fear in a person's life. After the attacks on 9/11, people were afraid to fly. They thought that their planes could be taken over by terrorists. People were afraid to go out into the streets or public buildings because they didn't know whether or not the person next to them was a terrorist. Because of this problem, people ran to the government for protection. Now that we know the causes of terrorism, let's look where terrorism comes from. Al-Qaeda is the world's largest terrorist organization. Al-Qaeda was founded by Osama bin Laden, who conducted the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. Al-Qaeda consists mainly of radical Muslims who believe in their holy book, the Quran. The Quran teaches them that Allah, or God, expects them to kill infidels, or people who don't believe in the same religion that they do, in order to get to heaven. Where do all these terrorists come from? Well, these terrorists come from poorly developed nations, such as Iraq and Afghanistan. These countries are in poverty, their unemployment rate is through the roof, there is injustice there towards the women and children. The women and children don't have any rights like the older men. The men, if they feel the need to, if the woman disobeys them, they have the right to kill them according to Muslim law. James Bruno from the Heritage Foundation says that nations that are poorly developed have the most terrorists, such as Osama bin Laden. Now that we know the reasons why terrorism occurs, let's look at how we can solve it. To solve the problem of terrorism, we need to continue the war on terror. But like all plans, we have opposition. Let's look at the opposition. Some people say that we're spending way too much money on the war on terror. But we can't really put the amount of money on a single person's life. Other critics say that we're in this war just for the oil, yet oil and gas prices are still skyrocketing, even to this day. And then we have this civil unrest among the people. It's kind of like another Vietnam, if you look at it. Except this is the longest war in American history, and it still looks like it's going to continue that way. Conclusion, let's review. We have our problem, terrorism, and what the causes of terrorism, such as the effects that it had on us during the World Trade Center attacks, and how people are afraid to go outside. We have the reasons why terrorism occurs, due to poverty and injustice in their own nations. And we have the solution, which is to continue the war on terror. Thank you. What's up with